Welcome to another episode of the Influential Nonprofit. I'm your host. My name's Maryanne Dersch. I work with nonprofit leaders to master the art of influence so they can ask for and receive everything they need to move their missions, and doing it without feeling pitchy or pushy, because pitching and pushing doesn't work. I don't know why we were taught that. I don't know why somebody said, why don't you pressure somebody into doing something? That'll be fun. It's not. And today we're going to talk about the donor experience. And what do I mean by that? I mean, how does your donor perceive getting to know your organization and becoming involved in your organization? And if I would ask you, what is the process by which you enroll people in your organization? What is that pipeline? How do you do that? And what experience do you want donors to have on each step of the way? Would you have an answer? If you don't, that's totally okay. That's what I'm here for. And if you do, way to go, because you are on a great path. Here's what I see. And this is just in my experience, in my observations. Here's what I see. I see folks kind of siloing their efforts. And what I mean by that is, you have an event and it's all this energy and blah, blah, blah. And, oh, it's really cool. And then, the energy dies. And we're not translating that energy and bringing it closer and closer into the organization. Or you're doing marketing and it's communication, but it's communication for communication's sake. We're not looking and seeing, okay, how can we move these people closer to the organization? Hey, it's great to have likes, it's great to have follows, but what are we doing then to pull these people who want a more of a connection closer into the organization? That is the donor experience. And as you know, I train people to master the art of influence, and I'm going to show you exactly how to create a donor experience, and where the art of influence means enrolling people in a vision, getting people to do what you want them to do in a way that feels good for everyone involved, when that really steps in, and really moving away from the idea of that you have to pitch, sell, convince, make a case, anything, because that doesn't work. I mean, it can work in the short term, but it doesn't work in the long term. Before I go any farther, I just want to make one thing very clear, which is your job is not to convince people to care about your cause. That is not your job, okay? Your job is to find and connect with like-minded people of whom you share a common vision for the change that you seek in the world, and enroll them in the vision that your organization has. You can't make somebody care who doesn't care. So our donor experience starts, and our use of influence starts with not trying to get somebody to care, but rather being strong in our mission, strong in our message, strong in our values, and sending that message out there so that like-minded people can go, whoa, what are they doing? I'm really interested in this. This speaks to me. All right, so having said that, I'm going to open up my iPad and share with you. Now, if you're listening to this, I'm going to hopefully be able to share this in a way that you can understand. And if you're not, don't worry, there's always a video component to my podcast. So you will be able to watch this if you need to, okay? So you may have heard me go through this before, but it's always great to hear it again so you can really embody this. But what I see are sort of the 4 stages. And, I was thinking about this. Could I put this in a cycle? And there may be another way or iteration of this model coming, but for right now, we're going to work with it like this. There's awareness, and these are just sort of like, think about them as rungs on a ladder, or, that we're moving down towards something. Awareness, interest, connection, and action. This is our donor experience. Now, we could even start up before awareness to unaware, right? They don't know who you are. But the idea is that we want to create a replicable, consistent donor experience through each one of these stages of relationship building. A lot of times, what I see is people go from unaware to action. Hey, you don't know who we are. We've never met. We've never talked. Would you like to sponsor our event? Would you like to give us money? And if you think like, oh, wait, yeah, you're skipping all the steps. We have to create an experience. It's like courting, it's dating, it's all of those things where you're enrolling someone slowly and you're allowing them to move through this experience at their own pace. And that is another thing, is your urgency. Like today's giving STL Gives Day in my city. Like, oh, people want you to give because it's STL Gives Day, but your money's going to be good tomorrow. Your money's going to be good on May 10th, right? So their sense of urgency, it doesn't always have to be a donor sense of urgency. Some people make decisions quickly. Some people are what my friend Katarina goes, slow cookers, or slow cookers, or slow cookers. And creating an experience that accounts for that, but that is easily maintainable and replicable, because that's what we truly want, are systems that support this. So let me go through each stage, and then we're going to talk about how to build that within your organization, and how the art of influence can help you move people down. Okay, so aware, unaware just means, hey, I'm not known to you're not known to me, right? So there's people, they don't know your nonprofit, you don't know them, right? No sense of each other. Awareness, this is the top level. This is our publicity, our social media, right? That's the top rung. It's mostly indirect communication. And it's mostly that there are supporters, followers who are aware of your organization, but you may not be aware of them. So they may know who you are, but you don't know who they are. They may see a Facebook post. They may see, an ad for an event, or, they may know somebody that went to an event of yours. Now they're aware. Okay, I'm going to put word of mouth up there. Um, but they're not known to the organization yet. Not known yet. And a lot of times what I see are people stirring up a bunch of awareness, but they're not moving people down the pipeline. They are not considering the donor experience and what that looks like, and how to move people closer and closer to the organization. It's all very siloed. Okay, now the second thing is interest. Now, interest can be anything where somebody self-identifies as interested in learning more. Interest is your email list. Anything that somebody would subscribe to. Like where you would know who they are. Like if you have a YouTube channel, if you have a podcast. I know probably not a lot of people have a podcast, but that is interest. Okay. This is your incubator. It's where you're keeping people warm. Okay. Christina Edwards in my donor attraction forum in the back in February, and she said, where do you get your new donors? They're on your email list. You already have them. You already know these people. Again, what I see people doing is building that email list. Oh, great. We've got, 10,000 people, 5,000 people, 4,000 people on an email list. That's great. What are we doing with them? Right? How are we moving them deeper into the organization? And by the way, I'm going to go through and explain exactly how to do that in just a minute, but let me get through all the steps. The next is connection. So connection now is a small group or one-on-one, and this is direct communication, okay? So in interest, the direct communication is what do I want to say? Like digitally driven. Okay, so like, of course, my emails are customized and it has your first name because I know who you are, but I don't know who you are, right? Okay, but direct connection is a small group, one-on-one. And these are, smaller events, or like things like lunch and learns, the breakfast, coffees, this can be small group, one-on-one. And then action is, that's when we're closing the deal and we're getting people to move in the way we want, which is give us money, give us time, whatever it is. So really, they have to know you to like you to love you, or trust you enough to give, right? To act. And it's moving people down in this, and understanding the donor experience and how they get enrolled into an organization, and not dropping the ball on at each one, because it's just making life harder for you. Okay. So they have to know you to like you to love you, and love you to give you money. That's just it. And so how can we create a donor experience and use the art of influence to do it? Okay, so let's talk about this. So building broad-based awareness. We have a sense that what we need to do to attract people to build awareness is to talk about how great we are. And that's, imagine if you had a friend and every time you saw that friend or met that friend, they were just talking about how great they were. That's not it. In influence, when I'm of value to you, you're of value to me. So our content doesn't shift from, oh, hey, we did this or we did that, or we raised this much, or, it's like, okay, who cares? The old, what's in it for me, right? Why should I care? So creating content that's of value to others, that either moves them in a way that educates them, entertains them, or gives them an emotional connection. That's a value. And I think, can be, I don't want to say it is, but it can be a difficult concept to understand, just in my experience, that every single one of you who's listening to me right now, your nonprofit is really good. They're an expert at something. Right? You're an expert at something. I'm working with an organization, multicultural leadership. Like, they understand diversity and leadership. You can create posts and articles, because people who are interested in that will be like, oh yeah, that's really interesting. Wonder who this organization is. Wonder what they're doing. If you're good at, helping people navigate their parents aging, um, um, foster kids, you're raising kids or dealing with kids' difficult behaviors, all of that, you're experts in something that can be of value to others. Because remember, when you're talking about how great you are, you're trying to convince somebody to care. When you're sharing your values, when you're sharing your expertise, you're of value to others, and the people who care about that will be interested. So that's the first way that I want you to shift your awareness to thinking about more about being influential, because being influential means when I'm of value to you, I know you'll be of value to me. And all your posts, all your publicity, thinking about, okay, how is this of value to the reader? How is this of value to them? All right, now we have interest. So we want people to go from awareness to interest, to be like, hey, I'm interested. The easiest and best way to create interest is building your email list. So you already have one, and hopefully you're emailing regularly. And I could do another podcast about that, but we should be emailing once a week. Because that's your incubator. That's where you're keeping people interested. That's where you're building community. But how we get people from awareness to interest is a simple thing called a lead magnet. And that's just that little pop-up box, and people drop in their address, and in exchange for something of value to you. If you work with unhoused people, what to do if somebody asks you for money? Fill out this PDF. My Sisters of St. Joseph were working on something called different like a spiritual guide. It's stuff they already have. We're just putting it in a PDF, putting it on a web page, and creating a tiny little form. It's very simple to do this, and you can do that. Other thing of interest are events. Sorry, I didn't put that. Like your bigger events. And so I'm oh, hey, come to this event. You get now you're in my orbit, right? Now you're part of my community. You've shown interest. So you can use events, you can use a lead magnet, whatever you need to, because what happens between awareness and interest is now that person is known to you. They are a known entity. You have a name, you have an email address, they are known to you. You can keep them in your orbit and keep loving on them. Okay. And your emails, again, not how amazing we are, but it's what can I do to be of value? I send an email out every single week and I say, how can I be of value? Because I know people open my emails because I have really great open rates, because they know there's going to be something they can learn. They're going to be moved. They're going to be inspired. They're going to be educated. They're going to be better for having read the email. So you can say, is this making someone better? And who is winning from this? It should always be that donor or that supporter, because this is the experience we're creating for them. So once they're on your email list, how are we going to create connection? Excellent question. So that is by inviting them into something and making it easy for your email list to self-identify as interested. Okay. So let's say, I'll give you for instance, because what I do every month, I have a free training. I have a free training every month and so that is for people on my email list who want to get to know me better, who want to learn from me. And all I do is give value, because I know if I'm a value to them, they'll be a value to me. And if they like what they hear and they want to make a deeper connection, or maybe talk about working with me, that is the time we do that, because I am creating that connection. Small group, lunch and learns, breakfast things, coffees, one-on-one. One of the best things, and I have a whole program about this, so if you're interested, you can use the connect form on your show notes. If you're interested in connecting with me, this is what I think boards can do best, is find people who may be interested and making that connection and see if there's a connection. Right? Hey, it sounds like you're really excited about this. I'd love to maybe talk with you more about what we do and see if there's a fit. Now, I just trained that board, the Multicultural Leadership Program, because they were having this huge event. It's this big culmination event, this graduation. And I trained their board to find people and to listen for people who are expressing interest and desire and creating a deeper connection for them. And they actually set the room to do this, where somebody says, oh, I'm really interested. This is really great. Oh my gosh, let me take you over here and introduce you to this person. I'd love to meet them. So I gave them very specific training on how to do this, to harness their natural influence, to move people from interest to connection. Because when you have that board, finding people who are interested and creating a connection, they're doing is just driving leads to you all the time. Woo, that's the best, right? And so the interest to connection is really where you want to have something to invite people into, something that between being on your email list and giving you a gift. That could be Zoom sessions, right? And what gets people from interest to connection is a personal invitation. What gets smiles on screens and souls on seats is a personal invitation. Hey, I saw that you were really interested in, you clicked the link for this program. We're going to have a special session about some of the changes that are going on. I'd love to get your input. Would you like to join us for this meetup? These can be focus groups, committees, anything that allows people to create a deeper connection, but it's a small group or it's one-on-one. And to do this systematically, because now it's just a matter of routine. Oh, hey, you should come to this. The art museum I worked with, they had like a thing on, I think it was like one Thursday a month, where they had a special time that it was open in an exhibit. And it was a really easy thing for board members to say, oh, if you're interested, you should come to this thing. We do this thing every month. You should come check it out. Yeah, and no obligation, no pressure, right? Because that's not what we're about. But if they're interested and they'd like to connect, this is how we have a way for them to do it. We're not fumbling through this process. The donor experiences this as a very smooth process, okay? Because all of this is about creating trust. The foundation of any relationship is safety and security gained by trust. And trust means I'm acting in a way, that I'm anticipating your needs and acting in a way that supports you. That creates trust. And then from connection, it's action. Now you're inviting them into action. Hey, when they're in the small group, if you're interested in donating, I would love to have a conversation with you about it. Whatever you decide is totally okay. But if you're open to it, let's talk about it. Okay, because now they're coming with you. They're coming along on this journey. That is their experience. And here's where your influence really takes shape, because remember, in influence, right? I don't have to pitch or push or sell. And in fact, in influence, the more decision-making power I give you, the more likely you are to decide what I want. The one easiest way to get a yes is to allow somebody to say no, to allow them to have the decision, and just keeping it within. They have the power. They feel empowered. They are not feeling pushed or pressured, because once they do, they're going to shut down and they're going to get defensive. So it's always about, listen, how can I be of value to you? What would you like to see? I did a workshop a couple years ago, and this woman said, I really want people to take a tour. So her way of moving people from interest to connection was getting them on a tour. Okay. And she's like, I can't get people to take a tour. I'm like, okay, then quit asking people to take a tour. You can ask somebody, it sounds like you're really interested. What would you love to learn more about? They might not want to see the facility. I don't know, maybe they do, but there could be a lot of ways to create that connection. And it's just an easy thing to invite people into. But she kept saying, like, I just can't get somebody to take a tour. Well, I think the invitation, first of all, is the first thing. Just saying, hey, anytime you want, I'd love to have you for a tour. Just planting that seed, then saying, and if a tour's not for you, what? If you want to connect more, I'd love to. They may be perfectly happy with the level of connection that they have, which is fine, because it was her need to have the tour, not theirs, right? Because when I'm a value to you, you'll be a value to me. If that's not a value to anybody anymore, that's okay. Had a call the other day, an organization kind of like a chamber of commerce, but for nonprofits. And she said, we used to have 100 people at luncheon meetings. Now we have 30 or 40. And I said, yeah, they're just not of value to people anymore because we have other ways of communicating. Okay, that's fine. Then how can we be of value? Right? Why am I making something happen that people don't find valuable? So it's all about, when I'm a value to you, you're a value to me. I probably said that 20 times already. All right, but you get it. So we're awareness, interest, connection, action. And if in everything you do should be supporting these stages, and every stage should have at least one vehicle for moving people from that stage to the next. At least one vehicle for moving people down. Now, here's what I see a lot of. I'm gonna give you a couple of just some things, okay? Events. Events are great ways for people who are interested to self-identify. I'm interested. I'll go to that event. That looks pretty cool. But we rarely think about what happens after that event, only because they're so time consuming and they're like so crazy, and you're just trying to get to that finish line and get through it. And then you're exhausted. What I'm asking you to do is build into your event planning process from the beginning, not just getting up to that event, but getting up to that event and what happens next. Setting up nurture sequences so that, your emails for before the event, for after the event. So the next day, I'm so proud of my sisters at St. Joseph, because they just did this big thing called Taste of Carondelet. And the next day I got an email saying, thank you for coming, because I know they had that prepared in advance, because they're wonderful to coach. And they do implement the wisdom. So, and I know that was set up in advance. Okay. So you don't have to worry about it. I know you're tired, but we tend to churn up all this energy, deploying board members and volunteers to move through the crowd to find people who are interested. I went to this trivia night. This was before COVID. And I was so excited to go to this organization because I really admired their work and I really liked what they did. And I met the executive director, who I really admired, and I said, oh my God, I'm so excited to meet you. I work with nonprofits in the industry. I just love what you do. I was really glad when my friends invited me to this event because I really want to get to know this organization better. I said, I have a book and I even wrote about you in my book as an example. And he goes, wow, that's so great. Thank you. And that was it. I was literally waving a flag going, I'm interested, I'm interested, I'm interested. Connect with me, connect with me. But you know what, right? And he just didn't know how to do this. He didn't know that he could be influential in that moment and move me to a deeper connection, which is what I was asking for. Oh my God, that's so great. I would love to talk to you. Hey, tell you what, this is a pretty hectic night, but give me your card or give me your contact info and I'll reach out next week, and why don't we set up a coffee or a call or something, and I'd love to talk more. I would have been like, absolutely. And so now that because I understand that the people at this event, they're saying I'm interested, and I'm listening for those who are asking for a deeper connection. And I'm establishing, or he could say, oh, hey, we have these monthly, lunch and learns, or we have these, monthly Zoom calls where we talk about the different things that we're working on and how it's impacting our community. Why don't you hop on and see what you think? Those guys, see, so they're inviting me because now we understand the donor experience and how to move people through it, and how to understand that our influence can move people into it through the system. And because what you're doing is you're doing a lot of work and you're not getting a lot out of it because you're not invested in the donor experience, and you're not looking at the whole pathway. Now, here's the other thing is that people can move through this several times, because let's say I'm interested, I make a connection, I give a gift. Now I'm back to interest, right? And this is where the cycle comes in. Now I'm in that email and I'm holding interest. So we say, okay, what could light me up again? And this is how then we build those relationships to understand what people are interested in, what people really value. Let's say you have a camp program, and you know me, and I love summer camp, or and like, oh hey, we have this summer camp thing. I remember you telling me how much you loved summer camp, or your experience, or I told a story about summer camp or whatever. And the development director remembered that, and they're like, we're doing a summer camp thing. I'd love to share it with you. See, that's where the relationship building comes in, because you understand what's of value to people. And when I understand what's of value to you, and I connect with you on that value, not my need, but your value, then I can move you down the pipeline. Okay? So let's just summarize really quick. Awareness, interest, connection, action. Awareness is that indirect publicity, social media. Interest is now you're known to the organization, your email, your event list, registrations, anything where people can be known to you. And then we have connection, which is a small group, direct contact, small group, one-on-one, some kind of personal contact. And that personal connection is so, so, so important. In fact, that's what I'm working on in my business right now, is personal connection. And then that's what moves people to action. And everyone on your team, from the marketing, communications to development, should be supporting this experience and looking at the donor experience in totality, from the minute they become aware of your organization to they make the first gift, and every gift after that. That we are aware of the experience that they're having from their point of view. All right, that was a lot in a little amount of time. I'm pretty impressed with myself. Okay, as you know, I coach people on how to master the art of influence, so you can ask for what you want without feeling rejected, ineffective, pushy, pitchy, all those things. Have really meaningful relationships that results in meaningful connection and action. And this is just the tip of the iceberg on how to do this. But this is what I do. I help people create amazing experiences for their donors by stepping out and stop trying to convince and start creating real, meaningful, heartfelt, and authentic connections, and creating that long-lasting, loyal donor base that you crave. So if you're interested, of course, there's a link in the show notes with a little connect button, and you can connect with me and we can talk about what I do And if I can serve you, and anytime you connect with me, I swear you are going to leave with value, value, value. I promise you. But if you'd like to go deeper into this, let me know. I am happy to help. And that's it for me in this episode of The Influential Nonprofit.